This is not a meal. It is a declaration. In the flickering candlelight of 18th century Europe, wealth wasn't just worn or lived in, it was displayed. And for a fleeting, feverish moment in history, the ultimate symbol of power was not a jewel, but a fruit. The pineapple. So rare, so impossibly difficult to transport from the New World, that a single specimen could cost the equivalent of a new carriage. Aristocrats wouldn't eat them. Instead, they would rent one for an evening, placing it at the center of their banquet table as a silent, formidable guest. A botanical trophy that spoke of global reach and unimaginable expense. But this obsession began 3 centuries earlier, under a canopy of suffocating humidity and strange, vibrant birdsong. In 1493, on the island of Guadeloupe, Spanish explorers were met by the native Kalinago people. They were offered gifts of friendship, including a strange, armored fruit with a regal crown. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its flesh an explosion of sweetness that tasted, they claimed, of the sun itself. This pine cone of the Indies would ignite a horticultural arms race. Kings and queens poured fortunes into creating specialized hothouses, desperate to coax this tropical jewel from the cold European soil. It became a prize locked away, a symbol of absolute exclusivity. But how did this icon of the inaccessible, the guarded treasure of kings, transform into the universal symbol for welcome we see on doormats and hotels today? When the pineapple arrived in Europe, it wasn't food. It was a declaration. An almost mythical object, carried across an impossible ocean, its armored skin and regal crown a perfect sigil for the age of empire. Its price was astronomical, a single fruit costing the modern equivalent of $8,000. Far too precious to eat, they were often rented out for parties, the ultimate status symbol passed from host to host until it began to visibly rot. This obsession birthed a new kind of architecture: the pinery. Elaborate glass palaces built for a single, tropical king. Inside these humid temples, Europe's most brilliant minds wrestled with engineering and botany, a desperate, hubristic attempt to conquer nature and domesticate the exotic. Soon, the fruit's likeness was immortalized in stone and wood, a silent broadcast of wealth and global reach carved into the very gateposts and bed frames of the elite. To display a pineapple was to prove you could bend the world to your will. But this entire performance of power was fueled by a brutal calculus. Behind every perfect specimen that graced a royal table was the dark, sweltering cargo hold of a galleon, where most of the precious cargo would succumb to the voyage. For every carved stone finial, there was the specter of the Caribbean plantation, a dark mirror to the manicured European gardens. The gilded crown of this fruit cast a long, oppressive shadow, built on the exploited labor that harvested these golden idols for a world that would never know their names. For centuries, the pineapple's journey was a race against time. A perishable treasure, its value was defined by its fragility. The dark, sweltering holds of galleons were floating graveyards, where for every fruit that survived the transatlantic voyage, dozens more would rot into a sweet, useless mash. This inherent scarcity was the very source of its power, a natural barrier that kept the fruit chained to the banquet tables of the elite. But the 20th century brought a new kind of alchemy, the tin can. This was not about transport, it was about conquest. The conquest of time, of distance, of decay itself. Industrialists like James Dole saw the volcanic soil of Hawaii not as an ecosystem, but as a factory floor. The goal was no longer to deliver a rare jewel, but to manufacture a consistent product. This industrial revolution declared a quiet war on diversity. The wild, irregular pineapples of the past, varied in shape, color, and flavor, were liabilities. Selective breeding programs became weapons of uniformity, hunting for a perfect, cylindrical shape that could navigate the cold geometry of a machine. What emerged was a genetic monolith, a single variety bred for sweetness, durability, and a flawless fit inside a can. The king was dethroned, not by revolution, but by logistics. Its crown was flattened, its golden armor stripped away and sealed in syrup. The aura of exclusivity was systematically dismantled, traded for the hum of the production line. Once a symbol of unattainable empire, the pineapple became a common pantry staple, its wild, mysterious soul lost forever inside its new, immortal tin prison. The pineapple's journey from king to commodity seemed complete. But in the 21st century, the crown has been reclaimed. Not in the courts of Europe, but in the sterile labs of bioengineers and the curated feeds of a new global elite. Genetically sculpted varieties, like the coveted pink glow, are the new centerpiece, their blush pink flesh a testament to luxury remade by science. Once again, the pineapple is a spectacle, a declaration of status that travels not by sea, but by algorithm. The gesture is uncannily familiar. The modern influencer, unboxing their prize, mirrors the 18th century European aristocrat with a powdered wig and lavish silk coat, standing beside a banquet table, not eating, but proudly displaying a single, perfect pineapple. The setting has changed, but the message remains the same. I possess what is rare. I have conquered distance and decay. And this finally decodes the central paradox. How did this ultimate symbol of elite exclusivity become the universal emblem of welcome? The answer was never in the fruit itself, but in the act of offering it. To place a pineapple in a guest's hands was the most profound compliment a host could pay. It was a gesture that said, "I am sharing my greatest treasure with you." The meaning of this extravagant gift long outlasted the fruit's actual rarity, embedding itself into our cultural DNA. So, when we see it carved into a gatepost or printed on a welcome mat, we are seeing the ghost of that impossible gesture. We consume a fruit born of conquest and empire, a botanical jewel whose geometric, armored skin once represented the spoils of a new world. Yet, in the same bite, we taste the simple, profound warmth of an open door. The king of fruits, carrying the weight of its history, still knows how to say, "You are welcome here."